everyone, and welcome to our garden program. I am here in the beautiful garden at the Wayne County Public Library here in Goldsboro, and today we are going to talk about bugs. And are bugs friends or are they foe in the garden? Well, actually, they are a mix of both, but we will have a special guest here. His name is Bob the Beekeeper, and he's going to tell us more about bees and how bugs help our garden. Before we begin though, I would like to invite all of you to come out to our garden here at the library and sit and look at the vegetables that we're growing, and even come into the library or call us, and we would love to get books for you to check out for yourself more about gardening and bugs and how they are beneficial to our ecosystem. We would also like to invite you to sign up for our summer reading program packets. Inside you will find a newsletter, and in this newsletter is all about what we're reading today in our program and other things with our summer reading program, like activities and fun crafts that we can do and songs and all different sorts of things that are so much fun for the summer. So go to our website and sign up for that. We also invite you to check out our NC Kids Digital Library, and that is on our website if you want to read ebooks or any resources again about the garden. All right, so call us if you have any questions or if you want us to pick out a couple books for you. We would love to do so. And today, like I said, we are going to talk about bugs. Are bugs our friend or are they bad for our garden? There's actually a whole mix of different bugs that we may see in our garden. We may see bad bugs like caterpillars who like to eat things like lettuce and who don't help our gardens grow. But we also may see bumblebees and how they have a special relationship with the flower that helps both the bee and the flower. And our special guest today is a beekeeper, and he's going to show us more about bees, where they live, and how they help our gardens. We're also going to read Whose Garden Is It? That's going to show us more about the bugs that live in our garden. All right, so let's get started and read that. Whose Garden Is It? By Mary Ann Haberman, illustrated by Jane Dyer. Whose garden is it? Miss McGee went out walking one day, and as she was cheerfully wending her way, she passed by a garden with colors so bright. She never had seen such a beautiful sight. How splendid, how pleasant, how simply exquisite. This garden is perfect, but whose garden is it? Let's see, she has her son, and there looks like there's a gardener and even a puppy dog that's following them. We see tomatoes and flowers, and this garden is beautiful. The gardener answered, "It's as clear as can be. This garden you see belongs only to me. I am the owner and everyone knows it. I am the person who plants it and grows it. See how I can keep it in first-rate condition? No one can come here without my permission." There's the gardener, and he's saying, "This is my garden." And he has sunflowers too. The gardener bowed and allowed her to pass, then went back to weeding and seeding the grass. He grumbled to see that some lettuce was gone and stampled on some strange bumpy lumps in the lawn. Then Miss McGee heard a sharp little squeak. Up popped a rabbit who started to speak. "He says it is his, but I cannot agree. If no one can come here, then what about me? I've lived my whole life here, just see how I dine. He grows me my dinner. This garden is mine." Look, he has a little bowl full of different vegetables like carrots and eggplant and tomatoes, and the rabbit is saying, "This is my garden." "Not so," sniffed the woodchuck from under a wall. "You eat just a little, but I eat it all. I gobble each bud and each leaf and each vine. I eat the whole garden. This garden is mine." There he is, and he's saying now it's his garden. "It's mine," the bird twittered from high in a tree. "The worms in the garden were put there for me." "Not so," sighed the worm. "Why, I make the soil fine, and that's why I'm put here. This garden is mine." So we meet a bird that's helpful to our garden. But look, we meet our first bug, a worm, and he's saying that the garden is his. "It's mine," the wasp grumbled. "I've built a fine nest here." "It's mine," buzzed the honeybee. "You're just a pest here. I pollinate flowers. It's easy to see. This garden would not even be without me." All right, so we're meeting some more bugs. We have a wasp and a bumblebee. And like I said, bumblebees do help with flowers. Or me, Bragg the butterfly, begging your pardon. I too spread the pollen all over this garden. And look, we see a beautiful butterfly, and she's helping the garden too. It's mine, squeaked the squash bug. No, mine, whined the flea. No, mine, snapped the beetle. It's planted for me. Not so, the snake hissed from down under a pine. I feast on your fellows, this garden is mine. Whose garden is it? We see all different types of bugs and even a snake. It's mine, groaned the mole. It is full of my furrows. It's mine, squeaked the vole. See my bumps and my burrows. The toads and the turtles, the squirrels and hares, the chipmunks and crickets all claimed it was theirs. Look how many animals are in this garden. Then Miss McGee heard a hum in her ear. Who was that calling her? What did she hear? It is mine, a plant rustled. I blossom in season. If this is a garden, then I am the reason. No, mine, a weed whistled, a wave in the breeze. You have to be planted. I grow where I please. It's mine, breathed the soil. That is perfectly clear. Nothing could grow here if I was not here. It is mine, barked the tree, for I shelter and shade you. And as my leaves fall year by year, I have made you. It is mine, smiled the sun, shining down on the tree. I bring heat, I bring light. Nothing lives without me. Nothing lives without me. That is perfectly plain. My showers bring flowers. It's mine, cried the rain. Then Miss McGee heard a faint little sound. Something was murmuring under the ground. Something that seemed as if she were quite near it. Holding her breath, she bent over to hear it. It is mine, the seed whispered. Although I am small, I am the beginning, the start of it all. The others may help me, but all of them know without me to grow from, no garden would grow. The sun was now setting, the day growing late. The gardener called as she walked out the gate. Now wasn't my garden a fine place to visit? But still, she kept wondering. Are you still wondering? Pondering, wondering. Whose garden is it? The end. Awesome job, guys. That was a great story. Whose garden is it? The garden is made out of so many different plants and bugs and birds that make up our ecosystem, and it wouldn't be able to grow without the sun or the rain or a gardener that helps tend to it. So whose garden is it? It's all of our garden, and we have to take care of it. So now we are going to have a special guest come and talk to us about bees and how bees play an important part in our garden. Let's see what he has to say.
Hi, I'm Bob Kemper. I'm a beekeeper and from Goldsboro, North Carolina, and I'm a member of the Beekeepers of the Noose Bee Club. And I guess there's some questions for me. Good question. The bees help out crops and flowers and that through pollination. And pollination is when bees fly from their hive to a blossom, a flower blossom or a plant blossom like you have here at your garden for the summer squash. They'll land on the blossom and they will gather pollen on their body, and then they will fly to another squash blossom. Interesting thing, do they fly to any kind of blossom? Not really. They stick to the same species. So they'll go from a squash blossom to another squash blossom. And that way, that helps that plant to develop fruit or vegetables or that kind of thing. Good question. Bees make honey by heading out to blossoms. And as they do, they will get pollen on themselves, but they will also get nectar from a flower. And nectar is a sugary liquid. And so we like sugary liquids, and the bees do too. So they'll gather this nectar, they suck it in with a little straw-like thing from their proboscis, which is like a curved tongue kind of thing. And they will swallow that down and visit a number of different flowers until they're full, and then they bring it back, and then they put it into cells in the honeycomb. And as they're doing that, they have what's called invertase, which is an enzyme that mixes with that sugar water and helps to turn it into honey. Once they get the liquid into the cells, they dry it down because it's 80% water when it goes into the cell, and they have to dry it down to 18.6% water. So they really have to dry it down a lot. But when they do, they end up with honey. I have two essential tools for the beekeeper. This is called a hive tool. And the bees are real interesting because you've undoubtedly seen a beehive, and it looks like a big box. And sometimes they're stacked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 high. And you think, okay, well, I'll just take one box off. You aren't going to be able to do that. That box is not going to give up. They have glued those boxes together, and with a little product called propolis that they get from tree resin. And so what you have to do is you use a hive tool to wedge in and pop it so that you can lift that piece, that one hive off. And this is a bee brush, and the bee brush is used to get bees out of the way. So if they're on a frame, and this is a frame of honeycomb, if they're on here and you want to see what's underneath them, you brush the bees away with a bee brush. And so these are some of the tools that a beekeeper uses.